Have you ever seen the God? No. Nobody has seen God. We have all discussed a lot about God. We have heard a lot about God. We have read a lot about God. But nobody has ever seen the God. A materialistic father will ask the spiritual son. His question is, where is your God? Then the son answers, He is above you, beneath you, around you, beside you, behind you, within you. He is everywhere. He is omnipresent. That is the answer. So when you say that God is omnipresent, what do you mean by it? God is a collective experience inwardly. At the same time, all-encompassing physical structure outwardly. Did you get what I say? He is a all-encompassing tangible world outwardly. At the same time, He is the all-implied experience, collective experience inwardly. So when I say collective experience, it includes your weakness, it includes your bad, good, your misery, pain, your happiness, your excitement, your emotion, your stupidity, and your intellect, so on and so forth. All traits of your personality is a God. You cannot segregate God. You can't say this is God and this is something else. Everything is recycled in the society. The food you tastefully food you eat, and what happens? It becomes a human waste after some time. The human waste is a part of food that you consume it just before a couple of hours, isn't it? Is it not a science? But now it has become a shit. Before some hours, it was a tasteful food. So when the shit is recycled, again it is becoming a food. So when you know this reality, you cannot separate God from something and keep Him somewhere in isolated platform. That is where some people have gone wrong. They thought that there is some sacred structure, sacred place, God is sacred, and God is something else. He is isolated from life, isolated from society, and all the society is bad, and there is some center of virtue He has to install there and worshipped there. I heard a song long back, some folk song. In that song, a person goes to Lord Shiva. He wanted to. Really, it's a very enlightening song written by some anonymous folk singer. And he says that he would ask the Lord Shiva. He says that I would like to perform you the abhishekam, that means a holy bath. And in that holy bath, I want to take a purest of the pure water. I want to use the purest of the pure water for your holy bath, because you are a God, you are a sacred one. So water should be sacred. So with this idea, when I go to the river, I found the frogs and crabs and fish and other insects living in the water. And that water is polluted with the shit of frog, with the shit of crab, with the shit of fish. So I don't want to offer that polluted water. I wanted to take some sacred water. Let me know where is it. How beautiful it is. Just think. So by posing this question, the writer of the song, that singer, wanted to communicate that God is the mixture of pain and pleasure. God is the mix of good and bad. God is the mix of all. It's a collective experience. It is an all-implying, all-encompassing matter. It's a wrong idea when you go to some religious structure. You ignore all the flora and fauna existed on those hills. And you go to atop the hill, you find God, your God in the religious place. Of course, you have entitled to do that. But ignoring all the flora and fauna, ignoring all the nature and biodiversity is something painful, because the living God, you find the living God in that. That's a man-made structure, however sacred it might be. But you find the living God. God manifested with all life in that biodiversity and in that woods, in that life experience. So when you miss the God in your own life experience, always God will be far away from you. You cannot reach Him. You call it moksha. After 60, 70 years, I'll go to some hills and meditate there and find God. You develop this kind of false theories. And I find somebody and who makes me realize the God. I do this mantra, I do that mantra. All this is maybe somebody's experience. But to me, to my idea, you should experience the divinity every moment of life. For that, your approach should be enlightened one. You should see every moment of life. It could be your pain, your pleasure, your enmity, your jealousy, your crazy, your craze, your greed, all the human emotions. In every human emotion, you can find the God. Somebody 30 years back, 40 years back, some philosopher, he told that even a person can find the divinity through sex. But all the Indians, all the masses stoned him, criticized him. He doesn't mean that you can find God only in that corner. Every human experience could be divine experience when your approach towards it is different. There are meditators, when they touch the rock vibrates differently. I have written a poem. In that poem, I said that, where's the need to bring a rock and carve it and place it in a temple? The rocky texture of the hill itself unveils a divine experience. When you look at any hillock or any hill, the rocks, the arrangement of rocks, and in between the bushes growing, the pythons and birds and the snakes over there, when it is shining in the sun, when that hillock is shining in the sun, when that hillock is bathing in the rain, and streams flowing from those in between the rocks, all this beauty gives you a kind of spiritual ecstasy. And why do you destroy the nature and start man-made worship? You need not pluck a flower. For a spiritualist, the flower on the plant, the flower smiling on the plant gives a deeper spiritual orgasm, I call it. What is orgasm? When you are emotionally united with something, you find that ecstasy, that is known as orgasm. If you deeper look into the smile of a flower on the plant, gives you a spiritual orgasm. And why do you pluck it? When flower is plucked, half of its life is gone. And when it is offered to something, it has become a soulless, mechanized ritual with no life in it, no awareness in it. I have nothing against of any tradition, but for a meditator, for a deep spiritual speaker, these ideas are necessary. So we can say more and more about it, but coming to the point, you can find the God through your own experience, through your own ideas. By digging deep into your life experience, you can find the God. When your approach is divine, you can make every tear of yours smile with a spiritual ecstasy. With this depth, you can unveil the God, discover the God within yourself. That is the spiritual growth, that is the spiritual enlightenment. Thank you. Hari Om.